portion of the Meraglim where they had requested that they want to send spies. So the Midrash addresses the issue. I mean, Moshe himself didn't tolerate many things, or didn't tolerate anything which was slightly off. I mean, if Hashem had said that this is a land that flows with milk and honey, and everything is only positive and beyond positive, and the conquest is going to be supernatural, out of the ordinary, what do you have to send spies for? For what reason? So the Midrash explains that Moshe Rabbeinu had one weakness. What was the weakness? It's called Chil Hashem. If there was any concern, even the most remote concern, that there would be Chil Hashem, God's name would be desecrated, Moshe Rabbeinu immediately was very sensitive to that. So they themselves, to a degree, they hoodwinked Moshe Rabbeinu because they understood it. If they would present the reason why they want, because they just want to see what it is, he wouldn't have tolerated it. You're questioning the word of Hashem. It's not even the question. He would have vetoed it, shut them down immediately, we're going. And they understood that. So they were not fools. So how did they present it? This is what they said. This is explicit in the Midrash. God promised us that when we go into Eretz Yisrael, we're going to find Batim Meleim Kol Tuv, houses that are going to be filled with tremendous wealth. The Canaanim, all the nations, they had tremendous wealth. So they said to Moshe, don't you think before we come, they're going to bury all the treasures? So if they bury the treasures and we're going to come, and we're not going to be able to locate the treasures, and the houses are going to be empty, it's going to be a Chil Hashem, because God says we're going to find Batim Leim Kol Tuv, houses that are filled with all kinds of wealth. So what do we want to do? We're going to send spies, and while they're spying out the land, being unaware that we're coming soon, we'll know exactly where they're burying their treasures. So when we come in, we'll be able to actually guarantee that the word of Hashem will be fulfilled. It will be Batim Leim Kol Tuv. This is how they presented the reason why they want to take this initiative. Send spies specific for that reason. That there should not be a Chil Hashem. The moment Moshe Rabbeinu heard the word Chil Hashem, immediately he backed down. He said, okay, if that's the case, if that's the objective, I allow it. I allow it. Now the question is, if Hashem says, Batim Leim Kol Tuv, you're going to find wealth, do you have to worry about the word of Hashem won't be fulfilled? It's understood it'll be fulfilled. Somehow we'll locate it. But again, because we do find a concept of Hishtadlus, even the way the Orach Chaim HaKodesh explains and the others, if you're sending Meraglim, you're sending spies, it's just a question of what kind of force to send in. How? Because we always go b'derech hateva. We had a standing army. What do we have a standing army? As the Ramban said, we're saying sumchan on this. We have to go and be prepared for the conventional conquest. That's why we have a standing army. We may have to send 3 people, 20 people, doesn't make a difference. But we have to do what we have to do to the maximum, and Hashem will determine to what degree we have to do. So therefore, that was the question. When they originally said we want to send spies, as we find Yeshua had sent spies when he sent to Yericho, the 2 spies, which was okay, because there was just the question to find out the weak points, how exactly, what was the most vulnerable, or find the mood of the people. That was the reason why he sent Kolev and Yeshua. Yeshua sent Kolev and Pinchas to Yericho. The whole story we read in one of the Haftorahs. So therefore, the same thing. We want to know exactly. It's not a question, can we conquer? Can we not conquer? Of course we're going to conquer. Hashem said we're going to conquer. The question is just what's the method of what's the strategy when we go in, how we can conquer? Are we going to send a force of 10,000 men or 100,000 men? That was the question. But of course, that was not their intent. Their intent was what? To see whether the land was conquerable at all. And that's when they came back. They said, it's true. It's a land that flows with milk and honey. It's exceptional. But they came up with, they said, Ephes. But, Ephes ki azom, the people are too fierce for us. They're formidable. It's impossible to conquer them. That was the problem. But initially, when they had gone, Moshe understood, and that's the way they presented it. It's just the question how we should enter, what should we evaluate, and he advised them based on the way they presented the question. But according to the Midrash says the concern was it would be Chil Hashem, and once they presented the Chil Hashem aspect, Moshe was concerned because I said when it came to Chil Hashem, Moshe was more sensitive of anyone, therefore he allowed it. And what did Hashem say? Shlach L'cha Noshim. You can, for that reason. So Moshe didn't pick up the word Shlach L'cha. Even though Chazal tells L'cha means if you are concerned, you have a right to send, to endorse the spies to go. I'm not concerned, but if you want, it's okay, it's fine. The Orach Chaim HaKodesh asks, it says, Shlach Hanosh Yisuras Eretz Canaan Asher Ani Nosid Livnei Yisrael. You know, going way back to Avram Avinu, he promised Avram Avinu, he says, if you go to the land that I will show you and so on and so forth, the land will be yours and your children till the end of time. The land of Canaan. Here, we're about to enter into Canaan, and we say, Shlach Hanoshim Yisur Eretz Canaan. Send spies, scouts, to scout out the land of Canaan, which is fine. What's Asher and Nosid Livnei Yisrael, which I'm giving to Bnei Yisrael? I mean, this is an old story. I mean, how many times do we have to repeat this? I mean, of course, we're going there. We're taking Canaan. We're not a bunch of interlopers. We're not displacing people because we have no right. The reason why we have a right, as Rashi at the beginning of Bereshit cites, why does the Torah begin with creation? I mean, if the Torah itself is a work of halacha, it's a prescription of life, why do we give the whole history of creation? So Rashi cites the Midrash that Rabbi Yitzchak says, because it quotes a pasuk in Tehillim, that God created the world, and he gave it and he takes it. And he chooses to give it to whoever he chooses to give it. So when we're going into Canaan, we rightfully have a claim to that land because God gave it for us, because God is the creator. And we have all the history of existence, how God had given the world, he destroyed the world because people didn't behave properly. So therefore, that is our claim to Eretz Yisrael. So if that's the case, what does the pasuk have to say? Send for yourself spies to scout out the land of Canaan, which I am giving them to Yisrael. It's seemingly totally superfluous. That's the question Orach Chaim asks. So he says, beautiful, he says, what was the claim? What did the Meraglim feel? When they made an assessment, an evaluation, it's a land of giants, ordinary people die, it's not conquerable. It's not possible to conquer it. He says, Efes ki azo'om. It's true, it's Eretz Avos Chol Udvosh, it's a land that flows with milk and honey, it's a land that has exceptional bounty, everything. Efes, but the people are too fierce, we cannot conquer it. So the Orach Chaim HaKodesh says, Hashem already, the way he presented the approach, send spies to the land that I am giving to Bnei Yisrael, that I am gifting it to them. So he explains it with the equivalent situation. A person gifts a piece of property which has tenants on the property. And the person who's going to receive the gift says to the benefactor, but how do I displace the tenants? So the benefactor says, that's my problem. I guarantee I will deliver the property tenant-free. You will not have a problem with tenants. Hashem says, send spies to the land that I am giving to the Bnei Yisrael. I am the gifter. Gifter means it's a gift only if the nations are not there. I'm not asking you to take out the nations. I will take out those nations. Giants, I will take out the giants. Conventionally, within your capacity, it's impossible. But since I am the benefactor and there's nothing beyond my ability, therefore it's predicated with sending the spies, Asher Ani Nosid Livnei Yisrael. Understand who's giving this gift. It's not being given by a mortal, it's given by God himself. Therefore, as a result of that, when you see those giants, it shouldn't be a question whatsoever why, whether it's conquerable or not conquerable. That's the reason why when Hashem gave the endorsement or allowed it, he inserted, which I am giving to the Bnei Yisrael for that reason, to preempt this issue, that it should not be an issue. But for some reason, these words did not resonate. But why did they not resonate? because they were lacking in faith. There was no trust. As we discussed yesterday, if there's no trust, you can promise me the world, but you're not displacing them because ultimately you want to destroy us. And that's where the 10 of the 12 spies were coming from a lack of trust. Therefore, regardless of what Hashem says, it did not resonate. However, even the people, if the people heard this, Hashem says, I told you, you rely on me, there's nothing to worry about. They said, but we can't trust you. If it would be conventional, okay, we can work it out. But now that we see what it is, we can't trust you. It's a land that's impossible to conquer. But I told you I will remove them. So we can't trust you. Because ultimately, this is the plan to destroy us, as we explained yesterday, because since we have a history of idolatry, and we actually toppled the apple cart at Sinai, because we reverted back to pre-sin, and we did the Egel, therefore God says it's unforgivable, therefore I'm only bring you to a point you should believe that you're going to continue, but ultimately I'm going to destroy you for that reason. It's very interesting. I always say, people, we hide behind words. You say a person, why you behave this way? Why you take certain initiatives? He says, my faith is not that strong. People say that. My faith is not that strong. What is the meaning of the word faith? Faith is trust. Could a person who believes in God, could he say, I don't trust God? You can't say you can't trust God. If you believe in God. You don't believe in God, you don't believe God. You don't believe in him. But if you believe in God, what do you mean you don't trust God? No not even God-fearing person could say, I don't trust him. But the person can say, I don't have faith. I don't have faith. But you realize when you say that word, you don't have faith, in essence, you're saying, I don't trust him. So if you understand what those words mean, you don't trust God, it's impossible to say that. But factually here, openly they said, we don't trust him. This is all a ploy. He's misleading us to destroy us. Proof of the pudding is, we saw something, it's not conquerable. That only confirms our suspicions all along. He's out only to destroy us, except he couldn't get us there. And therefore, this was a ploy to get us there to destroy us. This is similar to, just want to end this point, that, why did the Egyptians choose to kill the male children with water? So Rashi cites Chazal that they said the God of the Jews, whenever he punishes, it's always measure for measure. If we kill them with the sword, he will kill us with the sword. We kill them with fire, he will kill us with fire. But if we drown the male children of the Jews, he will not come back with us with water, because God made a covenant with existence that he will never bring again the great flood on the world. Therefore, we have God's hands tied. Kavayochel. That's what they said. So one of two ways to understand it. So Rashi in brackets over there says, but they thought that destroying Egypt is the equivalent of that, but it's not, because Egypt is just one location. So that would not be in contradiction to the covenant. With God said he will not bring a flood on the world. But in addition, the Medrash says differently. The Medrash says, it's true, I will not bring a flood on Egypt. Not. But you know what? Why did we borrow the golden vessels, the gold, silver, all the personal effects of the Egyptians? So it says, because God promises, we'll go out with great wealth. But the Jews initially, they didn't want to borrow because they knew when they realized that they were misled, they're going to pursue them. But what does God want them to be pursued? Because God says, my covenant is I won't bring water upon you. But you know something? You people are going to the water. So how does God draw them to the Red Sea and ultimately close the sea and destroy them all? The Jews are going to borrow the gold and silver vessels from the Egyptians. They're going to pursue them. And then once they're in the sea closes. Therefore, that's how they'll be destroyed. It's similar. God has his ways. There's no way that you can outsmart God. So they said, this is a ploy. And they have background on this. Just as he misled the Egyptians, he's misleading us because, again, in terms of our worthiness, we've messed up so many times and so seriously that he's still treating us with kid gloves, it doesn't make sense. Therefore, it must be a ploy, and this only confirms the giants and people dying. That only confirms our suspicion that he can't be trusted and he's only out to destroy us.